Hey everyone, welcome to Fantasy Reads. I'm Ganika, and today I'm doing something on my channel that surprisingly I have not done before. I am making a book recommendations video. Instead of just making a genre-based recommendation video like I've seen a lot of booktubers do, instead I'm doing it all based off of one book, which, as you can see by the title, is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. For those of you who do not know what Throne of Glass is, it's a series that I think this book came out in 2012, but the whole series really blew up in BookTube about the past year. And the storyline follows a girl named Celaena Sardothien, who is a 18-year-old young lady. The story starts off with Celaena just being, she is in the salt mines of Endovir, which is kind of a prison camp. And then the king, some people come and they gather her and they take her to the castle. And what she's doing is she has to fight for her freedom. She has the choice to become the king's assassin. Like, they call the position the king's champion, and she's the only female running in the race. But before that, she was known as the most notorious assassin in the land, but these people, a lot of the people she's running against don't really know that. This story is filled with a lot of action. Of course, this female character is such a badass, and she is honestly one of the most strongest female characters that I've read about in a long time. This story also has a lot of magic, or lack of magic, and there's also a love triangle-ish type thing going on. So far there are up to 4 books already out in this series. There's Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Air of Fire, and also Queen of Shadows just came out. I do not own it yet, obviously. But I think it's been rumored that there's supposed to be at least 6 books in the series, so it's not yet completed. But I highly recommend this series if you want to get started on it. It is really good. All these book series that I'm about to recommend all have a lot of the same underlying themes as Throne of Glass. And I'm pretty sure the majority of them actually came out before Throne of Glass, but they're really underrated. Like, not a lot of people know about them. But I started getting into this fantasy genre at kind of an early age, when I was about 12 years old, and that's when I really found a bunch of these books, because I'd go on Goodreads and I'd look up like books like blah blah blah, and that's why I wanted to do if you like this, then you will enjoy these type video. The first series, or more of group of series that I want to talk about, I don't actually own them. They're really old books. I think they came out in maybe the late 1990s or the 200s. And that is any book basically that takes place in the Tortalian Empire by Tamora Pierce. Tamora Pierce is an amazing writer that one of my friends actually recommended to me. She has written so many books and so many series, but they're kind of outdated now, so not a lot of people know about them. One of my favorites that I'm going to talk about is the Songs of the Lioness Quartet by Tamora Pierce. The Songs of the Lioness Quartet takes place in the life of I think in the start of the story she's probably 12 years old, and her name is Alana. I cannot remember her last name, but she has a twin brother, and she is supposed to go off and start studying magic, and her twin brother is supposed to go to the castle and become a knight, but no, they don't. They're kind of opposites, so they trade places, and she goes to the castle under the name of Alana. As you may guess, she starts training for a knight, but as she gets older, her body starts kind of changing, and she has to go and get help. So people do not find out that she is a girl, unless, of course, she would get kicked out. This series, like most of the others that Tamora Pierce has written, is absolutely amazing. There's a really painful love triangle in it that just kept me on the edge of my toes this whole time. And it's mostly about Alana trying to keep her secret as she gets up in rank in the whole, like, what's it called? Like the whole knight status? I don't know, but I think you guys know what I mean.
Not even 3 o'clock yet and the sun is already disappearing.
Next book I want to talk about is probably my favorite book. Like, I want to say my favorite book, but then it's kind of hard because obviously there's some books I like better and some books that I don't know. But this book I really, really, really enjoy. And it can be considered a standalone, but there's actually 2 other books in this series, but they all kind of take place in the same world. That book is Graceling by Kristen, Cashore. I don't think I've talked about this book nearly enough. It's about a 18-year-old girl. Like, all these people are, and all the books I'm talking about are basically the same age, but the main character lives in a world where every few people have graces. Graces can be like special skills or special traits that some are born with, like they get it from birth. And the main character, she is graced with killing. The main character, Katsa, is really ruthless in the beginning of the story. She works for her uncle as his kind of champion or like underdog. She basically does all the dirty work for him. And then she starts realizing that she doesn't really like how things are going for her. There's an evil king, like in Throne of Glass, and Katsa goes off with some guy she meets, and along the way they try to see how the king is doing the things that he's doing. I don't want to spoil it, but it's very adventure-y and there's romance, and I love this story so much. Please excuse the next cover of the book that I'm about to show you guys. It's honestly one of the ugliest covers I own, and I think there's been about 2 cover changes like after I got this one, but I got this one at Goodwill and it was only $1, so I think it's worth having the hideous cover. Next book I'm going to talk about is Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. The Vampire Academy series follows a young lady named Rose Hathaway. Rose is at, of course, Vampire Academy, and she's a more of half vampire without all the powers. There's a world with, I think they're pronounced Dampiers and Moroi, and the Moroi are the more you think of as classic vampires. They're pale, they stay up in the night as a nocturnal, and they have fangs and suck blood and all that cliche vampire stuff. The thing about this series is that it's not cliche at all. The main character, Rose Hathaway, is a Dampier girl who is training at the Vampire Academy to later become a guardian who essentially fight off Strigoi, which are the evil vampires, and protect the Moroi people. This series is really funny, as in it has a lot of humor in it. The main character, Rose, is so sassy and she always has the perfect comebacks. Not only is Rose such a badass, she is also so smart. Like, not like brain smarts, but she's more of street smarts, as in she never goes into a situation without knowing the outcome. But the thing is, she's really loyal, so a lot of times she doesn't really care. Her best friend, Lissa, in this series is a Moroi royal, and Rose is trying to stay out of trouble but still work her way through the Vampire Academy, so then in the end she can become her friend's guardian. But as you probably expect, Rose does get into a bunch of trouble that may ruin her reputation forever. Next, I have a high fantasy duology by Allison Goodman. This series is, I think it's called like the Dragon Eye Reborn series or something, but I have Eon and Jana by Allison Goodman. Unfortunately, I got the Australian cover, which is really weird because I bought it in the US, but it was off of Amazon. Probably read this series about 2.5 times, and honestly, it used to be my favorite, but after the I'd say the third time I read it, and my rating kind of went down on it, more of because I've actually read a bunch of other stuff, and that kind of affects your view on things. Nonetheless, Eon and Jana will always have a special place on my heart. This story is about a young girl who's being disguised as a boy. In the story, she's 16, but she's being disguised as a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, every year in this high fantasy world, they choose 12 young boys to come and compete and basically get training to become a dragon warrior. There are 12 celestial dragons, which are kind of like the gods of this story. The character of this story, Eon, who is actually secretly Eona, she's lame, as in she has a broken hip, but she's one of the weakest contestants of the people who are training to become the next dragon warrior. It's a little hard to explain, but the series itself is not very difficult. But she's really trying to show weakness and still be the strongest that she can be without letting people know that she's actually a girl. So it does have kind of similar underlying themes with Tamora Pierce's Alana series, and overall I really enjoy this duology. There is a love triangle in there, which is really nice. There's also a lot of magic, and it's kind of dark sometimes, which is another reason I really enjoy it. And it's a really nice epic fantasy. The last book I'm going to talk about today is a lot more mild than all the other books I've been talking about, but it's still really good. That book is Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. This book could be classified as new adult or young adult. I know little 12-year-old me was really scared to go into the adult section and hunt for this book after I looked it up in my library catalog. This series is about a girl who she is in prison for, you don't really know why in the beginning, but she's done something terrible and she is bound for death. But then some guy comes in and he tells her that you can either choose to be executed now or you can be the taste tester for the king. Of course she chooses taste tester because, I mean, why would she want to die? This story is not as actionful, like I said, as the other books I've been talking about, but the main character does go under a series of lessons because she has to be able to identify all these poisons so she can look for them in the food she's tasting. There is some romance in it. It's kind of really mild and you don't really know it's there until like the end when it pops up, so it's not the best book for romance, but there's also some amazing magic in the world that this story takes place in. It was really well written, so I do really enjoy this book and series, and that's why I would kind of classify it as, if you enjoyed Throne of Glass, you would probably enjoy this as well. Those are all the recommendations I have for today. My voice is like dying and the sun is setting. It is only 3 o'clock. This should not be happening. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time whenever I decide to enjoy. Oh, that's not how I say it. Whenever I decide to make a video again. Goodbye.